The cost of peace is giving up control. There's an old saying, give a man a mask and he will show you his true face. What does that mean? Well, in the context of Stoicism, it means that when we put on a particular way of looking at things, it quickly becomes obvious whether that way of looking at things is actually ours or not. When someone throws you a bad hand in a card game, for instance, and you immediately start complaining about it, well, then it seems pretty clear that you don't really accept that part of life, do you? If you get angry over something that happens in traffic, and you find yourself yelling and screaming into the ether, well, then it seems clear that you don't really accept that part of life either. You're showing us who you really are. And what this means more broadly, according to the Stoics, is that everything external to us is basically a test. Every situation, every bit of information, every interaction is a test of our philosophy, a sort of X-ray of our beliefs, because we can't control what happens. We can only control how we respond. So the Stoics say, bring it on. Bring on the bad stuff, because we want to know who we are. We want to test ourselves. We want to see if we really believe what we say we believe. This is why Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, the Emperor of Rome, says in his journal, what stands in the way becomes the way. Which is another way of saying the obstacle is the path. Don't try to avoid the bad stuff. Lean into it. See if you really believe in your philosophy. Now, this idea that everything in life is a test is explored more deeply in The Obstacle. Is The Way by Ryan Holiday, and he walks through the entire philosophy behind it. But here's the thing. Stoics understood that we often don't like what we find out about ourselves when we're tested. We prefer to think of ourselves as reasonable and calm and peaceful. But we find out when the going gets tough that we're much more likely to get going, that we yell and scream and become unhinged. And so they have a solution for this problem, which is that we should spend more time practicing what we call negative visualization. You probably know people who always expect the worst, who always assume that things will go wrong, and who are constantly worrying about all sorts of unlikely events. But the Stoics aren't those people. They're actually the opposite of those people. They're not negative. They're actually positive. They're cheerful. They're upbeat. They just take a sober view of the facts, and they say there's a good reason to do that. Which is that if you expect the best and then the worst actually happens, you'll be devastated. You'll be utterly crushed. But if you expect the worst and then the best actually happens, you'll be pleasantly surprised. So the Stoics say, prepare yourself for every possible outcome. Prepare for the best and the worst. But look, these things are uncertain. It may not happen. But by preparing for the worst, you'll be happy when it doesn't happen. You'll be happy when things go right. But also understand that when things do go wrong, you'll be better prepared for it and you won't be upset by it. So the cost of peace, the cost of happiness, is giving up control. It's letting go of what doesn't serve you. It's understanding that everything that happens to us is a test. Everything, every interaction, every situation, every piece of information. It's a test of our philosophy. So when you're tested, when you're tried, when you're facing some kind of obstacle, remember the Stoics say that's where you find out what you really believe. That's where you find out what you really value. It's where you find out what you really stand for. And so lean into it. Welcome it. The obstacle is the path. What stands in the way becomes the way. Let's make it obvious. Let's see what we're made of. Subscribe for more Stoics truths and learn how to build unshakable mindset.